What's up, guys? My name is JDClick5 and welcome back to another episode of the F1 My Team Career Mode. A few upgrades being made. Obviously, as you have made aware last episode, some regulations have changed, so we need to get up to date with them regulations and get forward with those. So we cut that bit out of this episode. Obviously, is a bit of a boring part. Charles Leclerc, our new rival, previous to Max Verstappen. Obviously, Max was far superior than what we were, but our next rival will be Charles Leclerc, and we'll be battling it out till the end of the season to see if we can get any better than Charles Leclerc. Practice sessions being away, and we are in Mexico. I haven't said that, but we are in Mexico. This is a chance for Max Verstappen to seal the World Championship as of the moment, so I do believe if he wins the race, this is his World Championship, so that'll be title number 3 for Max, 3 in a row. Lovely stuff from the Dutchman, but we're not too worried about that. We're focusing on our own achievements, and we're trying to see if we can get a decent practice lap in this session, qualifying sectors for the actual practice program to see where we would actually kind of turn out to be. Not too bad in all honesty. I feel like we did all right. It was a tough one because you can see a red delta, and then we did really well in terms of this part of the track. Sector 3, we were really fast, and we seemed to be able to gain enough time to be able to have a positive delta and a positive qualifying program. And it seemed to be as a decent practice as an overall, in honesty, on the medium and the softer tyre. As we go over the checkered line, we get the fastest lap overall in practice, and we also complete that program, and we do finish top of practice. Really good stuff. Whether that's going to kind of relate in the qualifying sessions, who knows, but definitely a step in the right direction, that is for sure. Then as we complete qualifying lap 2, as lap 1 didn't seem to be the best, that puts us in P3 momentarily, trying to better it in lap 2. It seems to be the second lap is better than the first these days, and it normally moves the other way round, especially with the ERS not being as good. We seem to do alright in qualifying. I didn't feel like we was at the races in terms of being really fast. I feel like there were times that we could have improved on different areas of the track and points where we were slow and fast, and it was just one of those where we couldn't really gain a whole lot of time, and I felt like it was only at points in the track we were really strong at, and there were some weaker points to it also. It's one of those though, I feel like we're going to have that at tracks where we are kind of strong in some and strong and not in others. Obviously we've had a good few Grand Prix in Qatar and America also, so it's going to be interesting to see if we can kind of reiterate that to Mexico. Whether we are going to do that is another thing, but we're going to wait to see if is that the case. We're looking fast at the moment. Obviously not many people have completed as many laps as you can see, because Alexander Albon is in 5th, and that is a very unlikely position for the Williams to be in. We didn't do too bad, but we went really wide on this part of the track, and we lost a lot of time, and unfortunately for us that really didn't do us any benefits whatsoever. Unfortunately that put us in a really bad spot in terms of qualifying compared to what we used to. Obviously we qualified P5 originally, but it wasn't to be. We qualified in P5 in America, if anyone's getting confused. P9 overall in Mexico, not too bad. We've got those sprint race this time though, so we're going to have to be looking forward to the main race, but hopefully, just hopefully, we can pull it out of the bag and do something special in Mexico.
Back in the 60s, Mexico City would host the season-ending race, a party of motor racing. Well, it might not host the finale now, but Mexico hosts a party nonetheless. So welcome to the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez for the Mexico City Grand Prix. At 2,285 meters above sea level, the thin air of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez poses a unique challenge, not just to a driver's skill, but to the efficiency of their engines as well. 17 corners then make a lap of this 2.6-mile circuit, expect incredible speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and overtaking into the braking zones of turn 1 and turn 4. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Hamilton, Verstappen, Perez, Norris, Gasly, Cook, Bottas, Oscar Piastri, Ocon, Magnussen, Stroll, Albon, Tsunoda, Joe, Hulkenberg, Massa, Fernando Alonso, De Vries, and Logan Sargent. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And a warm welcome, of course, to my co-commentator here today, someone of tremendous experience and insight. It's the man himself, Anthony Davidson. Now, let's talk about Charles Leclerc.
Well, it was a really impressive lap in qualifying to get pole position, but are they going to be able to hold on to the lead into the first corner with so many quick starters around them? And of course, it's looking very close here today. A lot's going to be riding on those first few corners, and then the question becomes who can manage their tyres so they're in a better position to push hard towards the end.
Here we go then, we're on the grid in Mexico. It's going to be the 5 lights out. We're in P9, Bottas just behind, Gasly just in front. 5 lights out and away we go. And a brilliant start once again from us as we try to see if we can look to take a pass through them. We have to go late onto the brakes though, as Norris makes an early set onto the brakes, making us push it onto the late. We aren't able to make any sort of gain as of the moment as we go on the outside of Lando Norris, as we go up on the outside of many of them also, and as we look to see, we gain a lot of time. A fairly poor start, but a really good kind of ending to that first corner. We do collide with Sergio Perez there. Unfortunate that it was collision with Perez being noted, and that was really, really unfortunate. But we have slotted into P7, much better compared to what I thought it might be, as we go up on the inside of Pierre Gasly, as we go through on the Alpine machine, putting us into P6. And we've got Sergio Perez just in front, we've got George Russell, we've got Charles Leclerc, as we go and complete lap 1 of 25. A decent lap so far. It seems to be that we're fairly strong. Not strong enough though, because we still are in P6, and as you can see in our rearview mirror, Pierre Gasly is going to take a look up on the inside of us, and through he goes. He's got a bit of slipstream, whether he's in the faster machine, that is to be said as of yet. But we are going to be trying to see if we can battle with the Alpine machine of Pierre Gasly, an unlikely opponent, but it's interesting to see if we can make any marks. It's definitely early on in this Mexico Grand Prix as we try and settle ourselves into it, and this is definitely going to be a kind of difficult one, I feel like, more than anything, as we are in a weaker position compared to previous Grand Prix. Pierre Gasly is there though, as we go late onto the brakes and we go through on Pierre Gasly. Slight collision being made, not being noted though by the FIA, and through we go as a lap 3 of 25. We're going to have DRS also, and it's going to be interesting to see if we can catch up onto Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc. Pretty sure you've got a Mercedes machine. I'm not too sure if that's George Russell or Lewis Hamilton. Pretty sure that's Russell. We will see as we catch up onto the gap, and this is going to be a hell of a Grand Prix, that is for sure. Lap 4 of 25 then, we've got Pierre Gasly. Caution sector 1 actually, before we even mention about who's behind us. Regime Racing, that's going to be the ones in front of us. I'm pretty sure that's the Mercedes machine of George Russell slowing down, and yes it is. He is slotted right back into P5, and that is George Russell out of the Mexican Grand Prix, as we nearly collide with George Russell there as his smoke bellowing out of the Mercedes machine. But we nearly had a big worry there. As you can see, he was battling with Charles Leclerc. The engine's blowing there, so he's got no sort of fight whatsoever. For whatever reason, he didn't just pull to the side and go out. As you can see, he nearly collides with Sergio Perez there, with Sergio Perez having to hold his own and nearly have his front wing taken off. But for whatever reason, he just doesn't go to the side straight away. He does eventually, but as you can see, I'm not that aware, and I nearly collide into George Russell. What a hectic start to this Mexican Grand Prix. And as you can see, we're currently in P5. Sergio Perez has made a massive jump up to P2, so we've got the 2 Ferrari engines of Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Sainz on the harder tyre, Leclerc on the softer tyre. I was talking about how Gasly's going to be an opponent, and he's about in behind us, but it's not to be for them as of the moment, because this is really, really interesting to see where we can go currently. George has made a massive kind of hinder to this Grand Prix. I'm really, really interested to see how we go, as Carlos Sainz is now, we're through on him as the harder tyre really isn't working for Carlos. A really unfortunate event for him. There's nothing that really can be done for the Miss Ferrari machine, but through we go. A really, really good kind of start to this Grand Prix. The first couple of laps weren't as good, but we've made it up. The kind of yellow flags have really helped us, slowed a few people down at the same time, and through we are then. We are into P4 as of the moment. We've got Charles Leclerc in P2, Sergio Perez in the Red Bull machine as of P3. Charles Leclerc getting the fastest lap in this race. We're on lap 10 of 25, so that only means one thing: the pit is going to happen any lap now. As the pit window does open, we're going to be on the medium set of tyre for this set of strategy currently, as we try and push on in this Grand Prix. As I say, not the best of starts, but it definitely worked out in a way. I feel like the yellow flag really, really helped us. For whatever reason, George Russell just didn't want to pull to the side whatsoever, but it's really, really helped us. And anyway, we are through into P4. seems to be that the softer tyre is at the end of its lifespan, and that is expected lap 11 of 25. It's done very well. You think in Texas it only got to lap 7. The track temperatures must be very, very different. Obviously we might be pushing it at a different level to what we were in America, but that doesn't matter because we are going to be pitting for the medium tyres. We've got Sergio Perez just in front. Him and Charles Leclerc are having a really, really good battle as they're to-ing and froing. Obviously Sergio Perez made a really good gap at one point from where he was through both on Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, but unfortunately for the Red Bull machine he has had to slot into P3 with the other teammate being Max Verstappen. He is well in forward. You can't even see him on the little map as of the moment, and he is definitely going to be on the charge, and he knows he can snap up this World Championship with races to spare. A really, really interesting affair for Max Verstappen, and fair play to him in all honesty. He's had a great Grand Prix as of the moment. As we go and complete the final few corners, we're going to be pitting for the medium set of tyre, hoping for a decent pit stop. Obviously we've been upgrading the pit equipment, hoping for a 2.3 pit stop if possible to try and make the most of it and gain as much time as we possibly can on our other opponents being Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez. I think Max Verstappen is completely out of the kind of talking point in all honesty in terms of a battle. Really interesting to see if we can get a podium. Optimal stop 2.3 to 2.4 as we try and see if anything's going to happen. I'm not too sure if it will. Looks like to see, yeah, we actually did too bad in honesty, so 2.3, that is really, really good. Obviously we just slot in behind Charles Leclerc, and it will be interesting to see where we join up with the rest of the pack. Few others being pitted also, so we actually are going to slot into P14, which is a decent position to be in at this point in time with the pit also. So the charge is definitely now on. Charles Leclerc being held up with Nick De Vries momentarily, so it'll be interesting to see if Charles loses any time whatsoever, and hopefully we can gain some time. But he does get past Nick De Vries, and now we've got to get past Nick De Vries also. The AlphaTauri machine holding us up slightly as he's on the softer compound here, as he's got the slower engine also, as we go onto this bit of straight, and hopefully we can outbrake him. But he is trying to test me, and we are going to lose time by doing so. And then we go late onto the brakes, we go through on Nick De Vries, and we are now into P13 as the laps can dwindle down more than anything. This Grand Prix has literally whizzed by more than anything. We've stayed in a certain position for a fair while. Obviously we've had the pits, and now it's going to be interesting to see what happens now as our teammate is now in the pits, but so is everyone else. Whether that is going to be Sergio Perez. I know Carlos Sainz is there. For whatever reason he went on the harder tyre because he's only pitted on lap 13. Really interesting to see. He's probably gone onto the medium compound, and yes he has, and we've slotted into ourselves into P5. Yet for Sergio Perez to pit, yet for Max Verstappen to pit. I'm not too sure actually. He's into P3. No, so he has pitted. He has pitted. It's just whether his teammate Sergio has as of yet. I don't know if they're going to do for a double stack technique or whatever, because this might really falter for Sergio Perez as the charge is on for Charles Leclerc. Sector 2, sorry. We have got a purple sector as we push on in this Grand Prix. 1.1 seconds splits myself and Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari engine as we close the gap a little by little. He has got the fastest lap though, bearing in mind he is in a faster car, and he is definitely going to be pushing on in this Grand Prix as we complete lap 13 of 25, going on to lap 14. Lance Stroll in the pits, and so is Sergio Perez. I can't even get onto the fastest lap because at 119.8 as fastest lap for myself, but we are through into the P3, and our race strategy has definitely benefited. Lando Norris now snapping up the fastest lap that only lasted seconds if anything, and we are through now into P3, an unexpected one that is to say, and hopefully we can maintain this position as we look to try and fight off the other opponents. And this is really interesting to see that our race strategy has really worked for us. It's surprising to see because in all honesty we wasn't that close to Sergio when we went into the pits. Obviously his strategy himself hasn't worked too much, and he thought he could get the most out of the softer tyre, but it's not to be, and we are into P3, and we're going to try and move the battle onto Charles Leclerc. He is definitely the faster of the two though, as he gains enough time, 3 seconds at the moment. As you can see, Sergio Perez just behind, lap 17 of 25. He's definitely gained enough time. There was a certain gap before, but he knows what he's doing. The push is definitely on, and we're going to try and have to maintain this timing. I think it's going to be a to and froing, but we are definitely up for the battle for the Red Bull machine to try and get this podium in Mexico. I feel like it would be a very hard-earned one as of the moment. Whether that's going to be at the end of the Grand Prix, we don't know as of yet. As I try and get my words out in anticipation, this is really hotting up to be a good end to this Grand Prix as we complete the final few corners in this Mexican Grand Prix. Lap 17 of 25 is going to be over any second now as we look to go and push on to lap 18. Not many laps left whatsoever. But as you can see on your screen right now, Sergio Perez has made the charge. He's got the DRS. We've got no ERS, and through he goes into P3 then, and the battle is definitely going to be between myself and the Red Bull machine as we try and go late onto the brakes, but he shuts me out of that position completely, and he goes on the charge then as we're going to get DRS on this particular straight. Whether we're going to gain enough time on him, who knows. In all honesty, it's going to be really interesting to see where we lie. We've got a fast car, but whether it's faster than one of this Red Bull machine, who knows. Obviously Max Verstappen's pushing it to its absolute limit, winning after winning. It's been absolutely unbelievable for Max. Whether that's going to be the case for Sergio, and whether he's even going to be in a Red Bull machine next season, who knows. But we do know that the battle lies with Sergio as of the moment as we go through this chicanes, and it is a really tight bit of the track where you're full on the power, but you can't allow any time for where you're braking or anything or exceed the track limits, as we're going to get DRS through this part of the track also, and we know we're fast as we can go really late onto the brakes and gain enough time to hopefully then push on that bit of straight where we are going to get DRS and then push on to try and overtake Sergio. Whether we're going to do so, that is another thing, as it's about 800 of a second of the moment, so we are definitely going to get DRS. Whether it's going to pull to be any sort of effect whatsoever, time is to tell then, as we complete lap 18 of 25, go on to lap 19 of 25 then, and the charge is definitely on. We're not going to use ERS, we're going to use the DRS though, and we have definitely gained that 1.1 second as of the moment. I think we was lucky to even get DRS at any point as we try and go late onto the brakes and gain as enough time as possible, and we seem to be really fast through this sector of the track. We're not going to gain any sort of time in terms of going in front of him, but we're definitely going to gain time in terms of being behind him and definitely be as close as possible as we can. Another bit of DRS then, as it's about 800 of a second as of the moment, and the time is definitely dwindling as we try and push on in this Mexican Grand Prix as the laps are going down really quickly. 6 laps left of this Grand Prix, and we have definitely closed in on Sergio Perez. Green sector 1, that is definitely positive for sure, and we're going to try and push on and try and see if we can overtake Sergio, but it is definitely going to be a battle where we cannot make any mistakes. Any sort of seconds lost or anything is definitely going to make a big difference to this Grand Prix as we go through that sort of sector of the track, and we complete lap 19 of 25, going on to lap 20. DRS once again, we're a little bit in a better position compared to what we were a couple of laps ago. 600 of a second as of the moment. As we go near to the end of the straight, we're going to go late onto the brakes. We're going to tighten up to Sergio Perez. Whether we can make a move is to know. He's gone really slow through there, and we are through on Sergio Perez. Lap 20 of 25 then, and we are in P3. Sergio Perez just behind in P4. 600 of a second, 900 of a second, a second. A massive gap being dropped down, no collision being made. A clean overtake on Sergio Perez, and through we go. Lewis Hamilton in P5, 4.2 seconds. Not the best Grand Prix for him compared to what he did in America, but that is not to be worried about because we're worrying about ourselves, and that is about Sergio Perez. Charles Leclerc 2.5 seconds just in front. We have definitely got faster, that is for sure. Whether we'll get into P2 is another thing. I'm just worried about P3 more than anything. I am worried about that podium. I'm worried to see if we're actually going to make it, as Sergio Perez is definitely going to be on the charge. Maybe not as of the moment because he's not going to get DRS through this part of the track. We go really wide and we're going to lose some time, that is for sure. 1.1 seconds, 1 second, 900 a second as we go near to the end of this corner, but we are late onto the brakes through this part of the track as the car slides from side to side, and we are wide on this part of the track also, so maybe the tyres are literally giving way as we are trying to push them to the max. 700 of a second, so he's going to get DRS on this bit of straight as we complete lap 20 of 25, going on to lap 21 of 25 then, and Sergio Perez is just behind me. 600 of a second as of the moment as he goes climbs and climbs. 400 of a second, 300 of a second. He's definitely going to try and make a move as he's got DRS. He definitely seems to catapult himself in front of me and go through Sergio Perez into P3, and we're going to try and see if we can make a move on the inside then, and we definitely have, and what an overtake that is. He wasn't seeing that one coming as we go through on this corner. I don't know if we're going to get DRS on this straight from where we were, and we're not though, we're not. So Sergio Perez is definitely going to get DRS, so he's going to take a look whether he can make any sort of overtake. That is another thing as we go on to lap 22 of 25. Sergio Perez is another overtake for the Mexican in his own Grand Prix. This has been phenomenal stuff as we battle with the Red Bull machine. It has literally been the highlights of this track where we've gone on this bit of straight where we are being overtakes. He goes late onto the brakes. You can see the brakes lock up and through we go onto Sergio Perez. Momentarily we have a collision with Perez being noted by the FIA, but I'm not too fussed because if they're not going to penalise me then I don't care. And I've tried to check on the vehicle condition also. The front wing looks okay, I think. I think it might have taken a slight knock, but we're not too fast because we are through on Sergio with not many laps left whatsoever. The battle is really tense, really tense as we try and see if we can see it out in this Grand Prix. Here we are then, fast forwarding a little bit, lap 24 of 25. It's still the same familiar faces of Sergio Perez just behind, but one person has joined us. That is Lewis Hamilton. There's me saying he hasn't had the best of Grand Prix, but he might just be completing a decent Grand Prix in Mexico as we go over the line to complete the penultimate lap, going on to lap 25 out of 25. And this is going to be interesting to see if Lewis Hamilton is going to make any sort of gain. He is through on Sergio, so he's up into P4. I'm pretty sure that's on the McLaren of Lando Norris just behind Sergio Perez, so there's going to be a train of them fighting. And it's a bit similar to the last Grand Prix in America where we had it where they were battling it out between the three of them and they were losing time because obviously they were having overtakes, DRS trains and so on. We had no one in front of us, we had no dirty air, and that just meant that we was able to kind of plod along, and that meant we was able to kind of have our own race and actually finish in the position that we really wanted to be in, as Lewis Hamilton's just behind us. About half a second splits myself and Lewis, about a second splits myself and Sergio. Well, I'm not too sure the gap between Lando, but I can see him on my rear view mirror, that is for sure. And we are monitoring the tyre wear, and as you can see there's a problem with my engine at the moment. There's a bit of wear on one of the parts, but we're not too fast because that should get us over the line on this last lap of this Mexican Grand Prix, as Lewis Hamilton is right on the rear of me as he tries to see if he can take a look. He's not able to, as he has to go late onto the brakes there, losing a lot of time. Whether that's going to affect him is to say, as Sergio Perez and Lando Norris is closing in as a freeway through that corner. Lando Norris has gone past Sergio Perez and he's also gone past Lewis Hamilton. Whether he's going to make that stick is another thing, and that will be one of the better results for Lando. A poor season for him, but a much better Grand Prix this time round. Lewis Hamilton overtakes him in the checkered flag. He is being waved, and through we are then, and we are completed the Mexican Grand Prix in P3. A lovely Grand Prix, and once again we are on the podium. This has been absolutely phenomenal, really unlikely to see. Nevertheless, we don't care because we've got driver of the day once again, and we are definitely showing that we are here to fight and we are here to get podiums, the best results, and the best results definitely make the best prizes as they shake hands with the officials. And this is going to be a very memorable Grand Prix. It's only a P3, don't get me wrong, it's 15 points on the board, but it's another trophy added to the collection as we shake the champagne and we celebrate with Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen being the world champion now for a third time in a row. Hats off to Max. Really good Grand Prix from Max, and he has just been phenomenal all season. You cannot doubt how good he's been. Final standings then, as you say, P3, Lewis Hamilton in P4, Fernando Norris P5, Perez 6th, Gasly 7th, Ocon 8th, Piastri 9th, and Valtteri Bottas in 10th. I'd have thought Gasly would have been in a better position as he was fighting big time. Felipe Massa in one of the better results that he's had this season. He's in P16, and as you can see, we've made the jump up to 6th, and we are in the top 6 of the standings now with no change in the constructors. What a hectic race that was, but an enjoyable one at that, and we don't have many Grand Prix left whatsoever. We've only got 3, Brazil, Vegas, and obviously in Dubai, so I'm very looking forward to that. So I hope you guys can join me for that one. Please like and subscribe for more content just like this one, and don't forget to hit the notification button so you never miss a video. Cheers.